HIFIS 4 is a powerful tool that allows us to share information with each other about the people we serve in the housing stability system. This is most helpful when we are helping the same person or family with their housing issue. HIFIS 4 allows us to deliver trauma-informed services to people by ensuring that they do not need to tell their story multiple times to get the help they need. It gives us access to real-time data, which helps us to see if there are any service gaps or bottlenecks in the system, so we can change our course more quickly. It also shows us where we are doing things right. It is important to remember that with the power to serve people better, we must also be careful to protect their privacy. Every person or family must sign the Housing Stability System, or HSS, shared consent form before their information can be shared in HIFIS 4. Each person only needs to sign once, and this happens when they first get into contact with the Housing Stability System. Parents can sign on behalf of their children as long as they are under 16. This means that if a participant accesses shelter for the first time on Monday at Shelter A, they do not need to sign again if they go to Shelter B on Tuesday or the Housing Resource Center on Wednesday. This means less paperwork and less time doing intakes for them and for you. Whenever a new person arrives at your shelter, you should check HIFIS to see if they already have a file. If they do, you can start serving them right away. If not, you need to ask them to sign the HSS shared consent form. Once they agree to share their information, you can create a new file for them. You should indicate that they've provided explicit consent. What do people need to know about the HSS shared consent form? When you introduce the form, please take some time to explain the most important things. You can tell them, this is a consent form that you sign to enter into the housing stability system across the region. By signing this form, you get access to the services that you are here for today and other helpful services that can help you find and keep a home. You get access without having to provide all of your personal information again and again. We record information in a database that is shared across service providers in the region. Your basic information is shared across all service providers, for example, your name, your date of birth, and your gender identity, but only the staff currently providing you with service have approval to access more information in your file. People have the option to decline consent, but it limits access to some services, and they should know this. What does this mean for the participant? Participants can still access emergency services if they decline consent, such as shelters, but they must sign the consent form to access motels and to access things like more support to find and keep a home through paths. What does this mean for you? If a participant doesn't want to sign the consent form, you must create an anonymous file in HIFIS using declined/anonymous consent. There are a few extra steps you will need to do to link the HIFIS file to your paper file on site. Never select explicit consent for a person that has not signed the form. It is very difficult to hide their information again once this has been done. Staff must only look up the participants they are serving. HIFIS 4 holds a lot of information about people who are often vulnerable. We want to use this information to provide trauma-informed service to people so they don't have to provide the same information multiple times. You should never look up information about a participant unless you are providing them with service. Your activity can be audited to ensure that we are following the right steps and staying accountable to the people we serve, our funders, and the public. Be careful with your HIFIS account information. Never share a password with others in your organization. If you or a colleague don't have a login, you can ask the HIFIS super user at your agency to set one up. If you no longer work at the agency, the super user will deactivate your account so you can no longer access people's personal information. So, what did we learn about privacy and consent today? When a person arrives at your agency for service, check if they have a file in HIFIS. If not, ask them to sign the HSS consent form. Make sure that the participant knows that signing the form gives them access to all of the services in the housing stability system. But if they do not want to sign, they can still access basic essential services. You should only use HIFIS 4 to access and record information about participants that you are serving, and you should be very careful to keep your login information secure. There are lots of resources to help you understand more about how to protect privacy in HIFIS 4. There is the HIFIS 4 Consent Cheat Sheet for service providers, HIFIS 4 Privacy and Consent FAQs for service providers, and the Sample HSS Shared Consent Script. Thank you for the work you do and for protecting privacy within the housing stability system.